Well, one of them would be that vaccine causes infertility. According to a poll by the Kaiser Family Foundation, about 66% of parents are concerned that the vaccine may cause infertility with their kids in the future, but doctors say there have been no evidence of this at all.
Myth number 1, vaccines cause infertility.
It's just heartbreaking that it's been perpetuated without any proof. In the original studies, they intentionally did not enroll people who were pregnant or wanting to necessarily be pregnant during the course of the trial. But of course, things happen, and there were people who got pregnant after having gotten the vaccine. And there have been millions of people who have gotten pregnant after having gotten the vaccine.
Myth number 2, you can get COVID anyway, so why get the vaccine?
The infection is typically much more mild and much less likely to get you into the hospital and much less likely to be fatal. You are about 5 times more likely to get the infection with SARS-CoV-2 if you are unvaccinated compared to if you are vaccinated. It's true with the flu vaccine. It's true with chickenpox vaccine. You still sometimes get the infection.
It's all about minimizing the chance, like wearing a seatbelt or locking your front door. You can still get into a car accident, people can still break into your house, but you still do those things to lessen the chance of it happening. The third myth, my kid doesn't need a vaccine because they're young.
This is a huge myth, and this is the one that bothers me the most. Over 680 children have died since the pandemic began, and 200 of those deaths were in children under the age of 5.
Dr. Melnick says even if one kid had died from COVID, it's already one too many.
It's tragic when a child dies from something that's preventable. And let's say there were no elderly people affected. Let's say there were no adults affected. But if we had a new disease that killed and hospitalized this number of children, and we had a vaccine, which we do have, that was highly effective in preventing any of this, there would be no question about it.
And some other myths that doctors say are pretty self-explanatory. For example, the false claim that there are microchips inside vaccines. Doctors have confirmed that there are not.
And there, and over there, rats. Rodents are nothing new to the Rose City. They've always been around. If you keep your eyes open around garbage bins and trash collection, it's Rat City. But Kelsey Parada sure wasn't looking to find them at her home.
This is kind of the major area that they've been getting in. This is our crawl space.
Kelsey shows us one of the spots rats were finding easy access into her home.
Usually it's like a scratching sound. Sometimes you can hear them kind of squeaking.
Kelsey called a pest control company to help her get a handle on it. And she's not the only one fighting these invaders.
Our rodent calls went up 300% in the past 2 weeks.
To say Keith Shalou with Pest and Pollinator has been busy is an understatement.
We're dealing with a pretty serious rodent issue here in Portland.
He says rats gravitate to food. Rats make a habit of dining out in downtown foodie havens, restaurant outdoor waste bins. But many of Portland's fine eateries have been closed or are serving a lot fewer people. And that has sent rats out farther, looking for lunch, sometimes at your house. It can be as simple as a bird feeder, your compost bin, a backyard chicken coop nearby, or loose garbage. Any of those environments are a haven for rats to sit, eat, and breed.
Rats are capable of reproducing about every 2 months, and their average litter size is about 10.
But why are there so many more complaints now? We went to the county to see how bad the problem really is. Andre Hamburg is the interim director of Environmental Health Services. Is there a rat problem in Portland?
Sure. Well, people have coexisted with rats for thousands of years. And every few years we seem to get an increase in complaints. We certainly are having more complaints this year.
But she adds that could be for a couple of different reasons. Portland's population has grown, and for the past 19 months, a lot of people are spending more time at home because of the pandemic. So they may just notice rats scurrying more frequently. Is there a way to see how many rats there are in our city?
That's a great question. We don't have a comprehensive monitoring program at the county.
Chris Roberts is the guy who gets sent out to check complaints in Multnomah County.
I'm the sole rodent inspector for the entire county.
It's not just people in homes and neighborhoods worried about rats. Homeless camps are often surrounded by rodents, often with easy access to a food source. All that litter, a big concern for the county.
We have seen an increase in complaints, and we've also seen an increase in issues regarding rats at camps. Our process is to do the inspection and refer it to the city of Portland if we do confirm evidence of rats, and we've done that. And I know county leadership is talking with the city to try to address that issue.
Now some good news. According to the Oregon Health Authority, there's been no recorded increase in diseases spread by rats. The same goes for rat bites. So here's what you can do on your own to keep rats out. Start with your yard.
Don't have an uncovered compost pile. Be really cautious when you're feeding animals outside. Chickens and bird feeders are really big draws, as well as outdoor pet feeding.
And plug up obvious holes where rats outside try to get inside. That's what Kelsey did.
Rats are very clever. So you definitely want a really small, tight wire that they can't get in.
She's okay coexisting with rats, just from a distance.
Oh my gosh, it was actually some very good thinking and seizing an opportunity. Not only that, they also got their city council to fund them for $300,000. It's been one of the hottest topics related to law enforcement over the past year and a half. Body cameras for accountability and transparency. It's an issue nearly every law enforcement agency is tackling in the Portland metro area.
Tried to be pretty progressive and stay in front of things.
Which is why Sergeant Scott Boyles with the Camas Police Department says they will be the first agency in Southwest Washington with their officers all outfitted with body cameras. It's because of a law change. Starting in 2022, they must record all juvenile and felony interrogations, which the department says often happens in the field. And while officers are not required to wear them otherwise yet, they will be allowed to. Going a step further, Sergeant Boyles says the cameras they chose are connected to another tool.
Axon, the company that we're using for our body-worn cameras, has a feature on their cameras that when the taser is activated, the camera is automatically turned on. And so what that avoids is an accidental, my camera wasn't on, or, in our case where we're not required to have it on, this would turn it on automatically in the case of a taser discharge.
So the department is working with the police union to determine when and how it will work for officers to be outfitted and wearing these cameras at all times. We have learned from the police department that the cameras will be here. They expect the week of Thanksgiving, and they say also that funding from City Council covered the software they need in order to store all of the videos.
$1.4 billion, Steve, and Portlanders are still paying for it. About a third of their water bill goes towards the Big Pipe project. So we wanted to know, is your money working for you? Portlanders know there was a time not too long ago where you did not go into the Willamette.
In older cities, including Portland, we have a combined sewer and stormwater system.
Then in 2012, the Big Pipe went in.
Combined sewer overflows are now rare. They're fewer, shorter, and smaller.
Here's what Diane Dolkin, a spokesperson for the Bureau of Environmental Services with the city, means. Before the Big Pipe, the Willamette was regularly polluted, sewage leaking into the river on average 50 times a year. Data from the last decade shows a significant cut, with only 3 overflows happening on average annually. The overflows also don't last as long, shrinking from 42 hours to 4. And the amount of combined sewage has been cut down from 6 billion gallons to just shy of 300 million.
This is a big infrastructure project, and it's working.
Let's dig even further into the data. You're looking at the number of overflows that have happened since 2012. The worst year was 2017 with 7. So far this year, 3. It's clear there's great improvement, but human waste still cuts into the current. Is the ultimate goal zero? Is there a way we can get
so
there?
we get that question a lot. What about zero?
In short, the answer's no, as that effort would have added $1 billion to the Big Pipe project.
We did not think that is something that the public would want to pay for, or that significantly improved public health or the environment.
Another important note, an overflow of 300 million gallons doesn't mean 300 million gallons of human waste. The city says on average the overflows are about 20% sewage and 80% rainwater or stormwater.